All right, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine from SBB Housing. And tonight I'm going to run the lottery for the 6 affordable condominiums located at Cobblestone Court in Woburn. We're just going to get the lottery underway in a few moments. But first, I just want to mention if you have any questions during the session, you can go ahead and type them into the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. You were muted when you came into the Zoom room, just so we can minimize any noise. First, also just want to give you some background information on the lottery itself and then next steps after tonight. No need to write any of this down. You're going to get an email after this meeting. So later on tonight, you'll get an email from me with the results from tonight. So the results from the lottery, and then also it's going to go through the next steps. So all of this will be in writing for you. So there's a total of 51 households in this lottery. There are 6 affordable townhomes. There are 2 bedrooms with 2 baths. As you know, there's 9 households that indicated that they have local preference. And those are households who either live in Woburn or work full-time in Woburn. All households should already have a lottery application number. In this case, since there's 51 households in the lottery, your number is between 1 and 51. And your lottery application number is the number that's A dot and then a series of numbers. So for example, A.001 or A.050 for 50. I'm not going to be calling out anyone's name to protect your privacy. It's going to be that lottery number that you hear when I'm drawing the numbers. When I start the drawing, I'm going to be putting these index cards that I have here into the box that I have next to me. And I'm just going to be drawing the numbers out. I'm going to take a minute to jot the numbers down just so I don't have to go back and rewatch this to know the order that was drawn. But I'll try to go as quickly as possible just so you're not sitting on this call for any longer than you need to be. And then following the lottery, sometime tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest, each household that was in the lottery is going to be sent that email that I mentioned. It's going to include the next steps in the process, as well as a summary of some of the information shared during tonight's session. So it's important to remember that everyone who is in this lottery hasn't yet submitted income, asset, or tax documentation. So each household was entered into the lottery based only on the information provided on your lottery application. If after the lottery you're invited to move forward in the process, you're going to be required to submit all of that documentation within about 10 days. You were sent a documentation requirements guide back when you received your lottery number. So that is the packet that sort of spells out in detail the supporting documentation that we're going to need from you. You know, pay stubs, bank statements, that sort of thing. And hopefully you've begun to gather that information already, just in case you are one of the top households on the waiting list after the lottery tonight. Also just want to make sure that everybody is aware, the lottery is an important step in this process, but it really is just one of the first steps in the process to buy one of these homes. So even if you're one of the top households on the waiting list, you are not guaranteed a chance to purchase one of the units. We first need to verify your income and assets and that were listed on your lottery application, and then we're going to sort the results from tonight. And that will ensure that we're able to confirm that you are eligible for the affordable housing program. All right, so just a couple more things. The lottery results from tonight, like I said, need to be sorted into waiting lists. And the sorted waiting lists are going to be attached to the email that you'll receive by tomorrow morning. When you receive that email with the waiting lists attached, you're going to notice that there are some households that are highlighted in green. Those will be the households that are at the top of the waiting list. Those households will also be sent a separate notice from SCB Housing asking that you provide the necessary income tax and asset documentation that's now going to be required. There will be 15 households that are highlighted in green, and there's only 6 units. So you might be asking, why are we calling forward 15 people if there's only 6 homes available? And the reason for that is because we want to be sure that the process is not delayed by us only screening the top households who may not finish the process, may decide that they no longer want to purchase the home So it is possible, of course, that just the top 6 households are going to provide all of the necessary documentation. They're going to be found eligible and they're going to want to purchase the home. But there is a possibility that you could be asked to move forward and submit all of your documentation, but you wouldn't be able to move forward into purchasing the home if people ahead of you on the waiting list do so first. So again, just with that in mind, we're going to be inviting more than just the top households to move forward and supply verification. And the reason we do it is because there's often households who do not finish through or follow through in the process. They don't provide all of the necessary documentation. They might not qualify, etc. If you're not one of the top households that's highlighted in green on the waiting list, you're not going to be moving forward after tonight. However, you might be contacted in the future at a later date if some of the households ahead of you don't drop off the waiting list because they decide not to purchase the home or are found ineligible. So just keep that in mind. All right, so any questions before I start the drawing? There's going to be 2 drawings. The first will be the local preference drawing. There are going to be 9 numbers called in that drawing since there are 9 households who reported that they qualify for local preference. And then I'll move on to the general drawing, which will have all 51 lottery numbers that are pulled. So first, I'll just be pulling the first 9, the local preference households, and then I'll move on to consolidating all the numbers, and I'll pull 51 numbers. Any questions before I start? Just get things ready here. All right. So if not, I'm going to go ahead and put the 9 index cards that I have here. These are the local preference households, and they've already been shuffled up. I'm going to put them in the box that I have here. And I'm going to draw these 9 numbers. These represent, like I said, the local preference households. I'm going to give the box a shake here, and I'm going to pull them out, and I'm going to record the results. This is a local preference drawing. First number is A.037. A.001. A.045. A.036. I'm just going to start saying 2 numbers, 1 or 2 numbers instead of the A. Number 8. $47. $27. $38. The local preference drawing here. And then the last number in the local preference drawing, this is the 9th number, 14. So those are the local preference households. If you're a local preference household, you're going to, you're going to hear a number twice, because now I am consolidating all of the numbers together. So there's going to be 51 numbers pulled in this next drawing, which is the general drawing. So this includes all households. All right, so here are the 51 numbers. And I'm going to put them into the lottery box right next to me, right here. Shuffling them around again. They've already been shuffled before I'm putting them in though. Excuse me. So this is the general drawing. Everyone will hear their number called. The first number in the general drawing is 38. Number 5. Number 7. Excuse me. 21, 46, 47, number 6, 48, 23, 18, 12, number 9, 20, 10, number 2, 19, number 3, 36, 32, 17, 27, 40, 34, 4, right about halfway through the drawing here. 15, 31, 45, 49, 35, 13, 16, 24, 50, 51, 11, 29, number 8, 26, 14, 43, 44. 28. 1. 39. 30. 33. A few more here. 25. 41. 42. 22. And the last number I have here is 37. So that was the general drawing, which includes all 51 households. Like I said, I have to sort the results tonight, which means I'm going to be looking at your household type. So your household size, these are 2-bedroom condos. So type 2 households, larger households would have priority, and local preference as well, we need to sort. So once the results are all set, you'll be getting that email from me, and you'll be able to see exactly where you fall on the list, because all the households that were just pulled is everyone. So it includes local preference households and type 2 households, type 1 households. So you'll know more about where you stand and what your chances are of being called forward when you get that email and you see if your name is highlighted. And yeah, and then you'll hear from us if you are one of those top households that now is going to be invited to move forward and submit your income, asset, and tax documentation. So like I said, you'll get an email from me tonight. Do you have any questions about the drawing or anything else before I let you go?
If I may, I still not, I'm not certain, like, why would I hear my number twice in the first round of, and in the second one?
Yep. So you were if you heard your number twice, you heard your number in the local preference drawing, and then also in the general drawing. That means that you had indicated that you were a local preference household. So you either work full time or live in Woburn. There are 2 waiting lists for these condos. The first is for 4 homes. That waiting list has local preference. So that means that households with local preference will have priority on that waiting list over households who don't have local preference. And then there's another waiting list that is a non-local preference list, which means you don't need to, or everybody has the same priority in terms of non-local preference households and local preference households. So we do the 2 drawings because we need to know your placement within the pool of applicants that have local preference, so we know how to sort the waiting list. So it's just kind of a formality because there are 2 waiting lists.
How do the tiers work as far as tier 1 and tier 2?
Sure. So I'm looking at it
local
now.
Preference.
For local preference, yep. So the local preference waiting list, the top tier is, since these are 2-bedroom condos, the top tier, meaning highest priority, are households that are type 2, which means larger, not 1-person households. On your waiting list, on your lottery application, you will have indicated what household type you were, and we would have verified it. And then in your email that had your lottery application number, it confirms your type. So the top tier for the local preference waiting list are type 2 local preference households. The second tier behind anyone who falls in that category is type 2 non-local preference households. So type 2 households have higher priority there. And then the third is type 1 local preference households, and then type one non-local preference household. And then for the waiting list for the units that don't have local preference, it's just type 2 households are the top priority, and the second is type 1 households.
Let's just say that you were selected as a type 1 early on in the local preference. Does that?
It means that you're going to be behind. It means you'll be behind all type 2 households, regardless
If they were
of whether
picked
or
in,
not.
if they were picked in the type 2, if they were picked in the local preference.
If they're type 2 households, meaning they're larger households, usually that's what it means. They're going to be ahead of you on that waiting list, even if you have local preference.
So because we had 9 people in the local preference, and if 4 of them were type 2, the type 1 wouldn't be picked?
So as we move forward on this, if you're on the local preference list, you are going to be asked to move forward to submit documentation. But depending on where you are on that waiting list, it's true that you may submit documentation, but then someone ahead of you could move forward in purchasing the unit. And that's because, like I mentioned, we're going to be inviting forward more people than there are units, just to make sure that we get the process moving. Because usually it's not, the top 6 households all move forward and purchase the home.
Okay, understood. Last question is, when is the viewing?
I don't have that information offhand, but I will include it in my email to you if I'm able to get in touch with the developer. Usually what happens, I don't think they have anything scheduled right now. I think usually what happens is once you are a buyer that gets through the process to a certain point, you would be put in, well, you'll be put in touch tonight with the sales team, and they'll be able to set something up with you. I don't think they have anything on the books right now, though. So once you have their information after tonight, you'll be able to coordinate that.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure. Yeah.
There are 6 units, you said?
Yeah.
6 total. Okay, perfect.
Yep. 6 condos. They're all 2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? All right, so if not, I am going to get to work with sorting. You should either have an email from me tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest, and we'll be in touch. Thanks for joining. Have a good night.